Hello everyone. My name is Peter. Welcome to the true stories being shared here. Please sit back and listen to today's story. Am I wrong for wanting to expose my stepfather to his kids? I really need an outside perspective on whether I'm the bad guy in this situation. I'm a 21-year-old male. I was put into foster care when I was 9 years old because of the abuse I suffered at the hands of my stepfather, the man my mother always chose over me. Despite all the support and interventions that were supposed to protect me, my mother refused to kick him out. Even after she had a restraining order against him, she let him back into our lives. Meanwhile, she kept having more kids with this man, my half-brothers, who are now 19 Richie and 16 James, making it clear that no matter what, she was going to keep letting him back in. She allowed him to make me the scapegoat for everything that went wrong in his life until I was eventually removed. Once I was gone, my mother was allowed to raise my brothers as if nothing had ever happened. As far as I know, my stepfather never laid a hand on them. My mother and that man are still together. I know because I've checked her Facebook more times than I'd like to admit. Growing up, it broke my heart to realize that my mother would rather give me up than fight for me. She could have kept me if she had left him, but she didn't. This abandonment left me with deep scars and a lot of issues to work through as I grew up. It didn't help that she cut off all contact with me almost immediately after I was placed in foster care. She didn't even show up for court-ordered visits. Foster care was really tough on me too. I bounced around 3 different families, and it wasn't until the last one that I got any therapy to help me process what had happened. A few days ago, out of the blue, I got a message on Facebook from Richie and James. They said they had been thinking about me a lot and wanted to get to know me. They even mentioned that our mother occasionally talks about me and wonders how I'm doing. They said they'd like to start some kind of relationship if I'm open to it. Richie even offered to drive him and James to visit me wherever I am in the country. Both of them seem kind in their messages, and I don't have any issues with them personally. At first, I was going to ignore the message because I don't want anything to do with my biological family. But then a dark thought crossed my mind. This might be my only chance to expose the truth about their father. I could finally tell my half-brothers everything he did to me, everything he put me through, and let the truth hit them like a ton of bricks. I know that if I do this, it'll probably ruin any chance of having a relationship with them. But honestly, I'm not sure I want one. I told my friend that I was thinking about doing this, and he said it was a really bad idea because it wouldn't achieve anything I wanted. He said it's likely to make them think I'm just bitter, spiteful, and won't make them have any issues with their dad. But I know I would want to know if my dad was like that. I would want to know the truth about how my dad treated others. I don't even know how much they know about why I was taken into care. So would I be the jerk if I went through with it? Related comments. Global Look 2821. Not wrong. What happened to you was horrible. You're likely to end up talking about what happened to you anyway if they want to get to know you, but they're not at fault for what their father and your mom put you through. So if they ask, maybe ask if they really want to know the truth about what happened. If they say yes, that's your permission. No Dress 1159. If the only reason you want to connect with them is to cause problems between them and their dad, then maybe you're wrong. But if you want to have a relationship with them and the topic comes up, you don't need to censor yourself or tell any lies about their dad. Watchful Scientist. No judgment, but your stepdad and their dad are different people. What do you gain by ruining their image of their dad? Will you be happy if they end up hating their dad and no longer having a relationship with him? Will it make you feel better to take away your brother's father from them? Because honestly, I can't see any reason to poison the well unless that's your end game, and that would make you the I have a half-sister. Our dad was terrible to me. He abused my mom terribly and abandoned us. And never paying child support, he dropped bombs and disappeared time and time again. If I wasn't happy, it was always my fault. My half-sister grew up with a loving, caring father. They're very close and she loves him deeply. She knows our dad, and I have a rough history, but I've never tried to hurt her relationship with him. I'm glad she has a good dad who treats her well. What would I gain by damaging their relationship? I'd be hurting her, and he's genuinely a different person because I'm much older than her and he's matured during that time. I'm not saying your stepdad is the same, but I'd never hurt my half-sister over my childhood pain. Update. Hi everyone, I wanted to come back and give you an update. First of all, thank you for all the advice and different perspectives. I really needed to hear them. So, after thinking a lot about what everyone said and after talking to my therapist, I realized that my original plan to tell my brothers everything about our stepfather wasn't really about helping them. A lot of it was because I'm still holding on to anger and hurt from my past, and that's not fair to them. A lot of you pointed out that they might not know the whole story and are innocent in all this. And honestly, that was hard to hear. I decided to reach out to my brother Richie and told him I'd like to meet up. I didn't mention anything about our mother or the situation with our stepfather. I figured if we were going to start a relationship, it would be better to take things slow and not dump all that heavy stuff on them right away. We ended up meeting at a cafe. I was extremely nervous, but when I saw them, I actually felt pretty good. They were both really nice, and we just talked about normal stuff like what we're up to, our favorite sports teams, that sort of thing. It was surprisingly easy to talk to them. At one point, James asked why I was put into foster care. That caught me off guard, but I decided to keep it vague and just said that things were complicated at home back then, and being in care was the best thing for me at the time. James started to push a bit for more details, but Richie told him to drop it, which was a huge relief. In the end, I'm really glad I went. They asked if we could keep in touch, and I said yes. I'm still figuring out how much to share about what happened, but for now, I'm just trying to focus on building a relationship with them. I realize that while the past is important, it doesn't necessarily have to dictate how things go with them now. So again, thank you to everyone who helped me see things more clearly. I feel a lot more hopeful about this, and I'm really glad I didn't go with my gut reaction to tell them everything right away. We'll see where things go from here, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Not sure if anyone cares about this anymore, but I thought I'd give a little more of an update. First off, I've read a lot of your comments. Many of you said I was selfish for wanting to expose my stepfather, and then there were also a lot of people saying I was a coward for it. Some people said I was letting the abuser off the hook by not telling my brothers. I got DMs calling me an enabler for abuse. People called me a liar for not answering James' question when we met the first time. I never said I wouldn't tell them about my past. Literally, in my last post, I said I was still working on how to share my past healthfully, with help from my therapist. But I had people acting like they knew best, and that I should tell both of them immediately. There seemed to be no way I could do this that wouldn't upset someone. I know that, and I'm trying to navigate this in my own way, so please respect that. Even if you would have done it differently. I'm by no means letting SD off the hook for abuse. I tried everything I could as a kid/teen to get him prosecuted. I've accepted that it'll never happen. Just know I'm a real person reading these comments, and not everything I do is perfect. But please, be kind. I'm not looking for more negativity. Anyway, in the week since my last post, I've met with my brothers 3 more times. Once with both and twice just with Richie. There seems to be an instant bond between us, something I didn't even know I wanted. I've really enjoyed hanging out with them, which is wild because I didn't even think I wanted to see any of my family again. Never mind start to build a good relationship with some of them. The last time I met Richie alone, we went to see a movie and then grabbed something to eat. We talked about our plans, what he's up to now, and then we touched on my time in foster care. I asked him what he was told about me growing up. He said they weren't told much, but our mom did mention me from time to time. I asked him what he remembered about me and why I was taken into care. He said he had vague memories and some clearer ones. but he admitted he wasn't sure what had really happened. He said he remembered a lot of fights and arguments between me and our stepdad. He mentioned he had one very clear memory of me, but he wasn't sure if it was appropriate to share. He asked what I remembered, and I said it was hard for me to talk about with anyone. He said he understood if I didn't want to go into it. I asked him what his clear memory was, and he recalled a time when I was around 8 years old. Our stepdad stripped me, put a dog collar on me, and forced me to eat dog food. He said he remembered our dad beating me with a belt while I was eating from the dog bowl and crying. This happened to me several times growing up, but he said he only remembered it happening once. I started crying, and he apologized for bringing it up. I told him not to apologize. I was glad he at least remembered some of the abuse I endured. He guessed that the abuse was why I was taken away. I confirmed it. I asked if our stepdad had ever abused them, and he said no, but he admitted he wasn't close to our mom or dad. He said they weren't loving or amazing people, but they weren't abusive either. He apologized again. We talked more about our childhoods, and I felt safer sharing my experiences of the abuse since he remembered some of it. We discussed it a bit more. I tried to answer his questions, and he answered some of mine. He asked if the trauma still affected me now, and I said yes. I was open with him about the times I tried to end my life because of it. He apologized for not being there for me, for not being by my side. I told him none of what happened was his fault or mine, and we can't change the past. After we were done, we both went our separate ways. He texted me later, saying he was glad I survived and that I kept going on living. I think he meant it sweetly, even though it came out a bit awkward. I felt really good having a brother who seems to care about me. I couldn't have imagined feeling this way just a few weeks ago.